Hello. Today I am riffing on a recipe from Jessica Seinfeld's book, Vegan at Times. And this is a cauliflower curry. You need cauliflower, onions, rice. The riff is I'm adding these potatoes and I'm also going to add a few sun-dried tomatoes. I took the liberty of chopping my onions in advance, but I will say that if you're having a bad day, chopping onions really helps with that. I did sharpen my knife. I'm very happy about that. It made it a lot easier. So I'm just going to cut them in quarters. These are going to basically cook up in the coconut milk, so that's pretty cool. When I was first laid off, I started a little podcast where I would read children's books, and that was really fun, and I probably should get back and do some of that. And it was called Holly Reads to You. I will say one of the themes of the podcast is that nobody is perfect, everyone makes mistakes, and that's okay. And that is what I always remind myself after I've had a whoopsie moment or, rambled a little too long, or when the school calls during your job interview. Thankfully, everyone I interviewed it with was very gracious. Sometimes you just kind of feel like you fumbled a really good opportunity. So I'm just hoping that that's not the case and that a little humanity goes a long way. Like, I am human. I forgot to turn my phone on silent. I couldn't find my notes. It was a real facepalm moment for me, but I guess I'm telling you this because I've been told by many people not to beat myself up over it, which I normally would do. I am not going to do that. I believe that everything happens for a reason. Whether or not I secure this opportunity or it passes me by, everything will work out the way it is supposed to. That's true. So I have my potatoes cut, I have my onions and sun-dried tomatoes. I have my coconut milk. I've rinsed off my cauliflower. Now, actually, I bought pre-chopped cauliflower, which I never do, but it was actually cheaper to buy the pre-chopped cauliflower than to buy the head of cauliflower. I was like, all right, well, save myself a step. It's great. So we're gonna head to the stove. First thing I'm gonna do, now that we're here at the stove, is I'm gonna generously pour a bunch of olive oil in here. The recipe says 3 tablespoons, but whatever. Enough. And then I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of salt in there, just a pinch. And then I'm gonna add my onions. Whoop. Okay. So we're gonna cook these onions down. Probably for about, 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. I really love on SpongeBob, and a lot of the YouTube gamers do it, where it'll take the SpongeBob clip and it'll be like 5 minutes later.
5 minutes later.
That's my favorite, and kind of hope now that I've said that Patrick will put it in. I'm gonna let that do its thing. So I don't really want big chunks of garlic or big chunks of sun-dried tomatoes in this dish. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to use this hand food processor and puree it a little bit so that it's more like a paste. I'm just doing 3 small cloves of garlic in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'll put it up here. Basically, this is a hand pump food processor, and I'm just going to do this for a little bit while the onions cook. I don't have any fresh ginger, so I'm going to put a little of this powdered ginger into my paste here. A quick note about caramelizing onions. When you are caramelizing onions, you have to watch them pretty carefully. I can tell you from personal experience that I tried, Jessica Seinfeld suggests covering the pot for 5 minutes, but I tried that, and from personal experience, I had burnt onions. So I wouldn't do that. I would keep your burner around medium, and I would just really keep an eye on them. You want them to get soft and tender, but you don't want them to turn brown. You can see my burnt specks in here. But thankfully, I'll just use this to flavor. Cooking is very forgiving, you know? Okay. Since I know that these onions are going to continue to cook in here, I'm going to go ahead and add my paste. So this is the sun-dried tomato, garlic, and ginger paste. Okay. I'm going to just stir that in. Already my onions are looking translucent, which is good. Give them like a little softness test. I did them really thin, so okay, they're getting there. Give that another minute or so. And keep stirring, you know, stirring them. If you need to, you can add a little water to this, and that will keep them from burning. Also, when I'm stirring, I like to kind of scrape the bottom of the pot with my spoon. Any kind of good, flavorful bits that are on the bottom of the pot will enter your dish, which is what we're doing here, is we're building flavor. All right. They're soft, and it's fragrant. We're going to bring it to a boil later, so they'll probably soften up a bit more. Next step is to add about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I am going to guess tomate. Yeah. 1 tablespoon of curry powder. We're going to cook it for 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a minute, just to scrape up the bottom bits. Oh my god, that smells so good. I think that's a really good base layer for our curry. Next step is to add your entire can of coconut milk. I love to cook with coconut milk. I think it makes everything so creamy, and you don't have to use dairy if you don't want to, but you know, even if you have picky eaters, it still tastes really good and people will still eat it. So we're gonna do that. This is 3/4 cup of water, and we're gonna put in our cauliflower. We're gonna give this a stir to coat it all up. Oh yeah, that looks yummy. I'm also at this point gonna add the potatoes that is kind of my riff on this. I have some potatoes in it too. Handful of potatoes. It's almost like a aloo gobi, but curry. Or is that a curry? I don't know, but I had some in our neighborhood the other day and it was so good. All right, so now I'm going to bring this to a boil. So I'm just going to turn the heat up to like medium high. I'm going to bring that to a boil. And of course, we have to kind of boil this and cook it until the cauliflower and the potatoes are soft. So that's going to be like 10 to 15 minutes. By the time we get it boiling, I can probably put the cover on it and set the timer. The sun-dried tomatoes are part of the riff, and the potatoes are part of the riff. I'm also, at the end of this cooking, going to add like a handful or 2 of spinach. I really like adding baby spinach in at the end because it's a great way to sort of mix in some greens without overpowering the dish. And we could all use more vegetables in our life, which I think is kind of the whole point of the Vegan at Times book. And so I'm always proud when I can make a really delicious dish and there's no animal products or byproducts. I'm not a vegan. I love a good steak. I love to eat in general, but sometimes it just feels really clean to eat no meat, no dairy for a night, you know? So I'm waiting for this to come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I will lower the temperature so that it simmers for that 12 to 15 minutes. Yeah. Just gonna break up some of these like bigger pieces. Since I used some of the water I had pre-measured, I'm just gonna add a little bit more, about as much as I poured in for the onions. I forgot to add a little more salt. Lower the temp so it comes to a nice simmer. And we're gonna come check the tenderness of these veggies in about, let's say, 12 minutes. 12 minutes later. Oh, look at this. All right. Oh, this looks good. Smells good. Oh yeah, nice and soft. Perfect. Yeah, everything is good. It's done. All right. So before I turn all of the heat off, I'm going to add a generous amount of spinach. I'm going to chop it first. I'll be over here chopping. I'm going to do another one of those. I know Jessica Seinfeld would approve of adding this spinach because she has this amazing book called Deceptively Delicious. And it's all about how you can get your picky eaters to eat vegetables. And she has got some really sneaky ways of putting it in there. All right, that's done. We're going to plate. Come with me back to my cart. A little bit of rice, a lot of rice. That's probably the only thing he'll eat off of this plate, but you know, we try. And then I'm going to give him one potato, one piece of cauliflower, a nice piece. Okay, maybe a couple pieces of cauliflower. Okay. All right. I'm just going to put a little salt on his rice. That's for the boy. All right, now we'll plate for the grown-ups. I got these new plates. So much of what we do is like kind of pasta or bowls. It's nice to have a dish that will accommodate all of that, right? Vegan dish, plenty of leftovers. We like the spice, so I'm gonna add a little harissa, and then I don't have any labna, which is basically like a yogurt-based almost cheese, but I have Greek yogurt, so I'm gonna substitute that. So what I'm gonna do is get a little tiny spoon. This stuff is super spicy. It's not for the faint of heart. So I'm just gonna put that right on top. It can be stirred in. And now I'm making it not vegan because I'm gonna add a little yogurt. Vegetarian then. And that's dinner. Okay. Mm-hmm.